All right, here we go. Try number 2. We're going to work on combining like terms. We already did a warm-up identifying what like terms are. We're looking at coefficients that don't really matter. Bases and exponents are super important. We use the word variable in class. So the first thing I would do is write down this word variable here. Variable, which means the same thing as letter. The reason they use the word base is because it kind of is called a base if you have the exponent, right? That little exponent attaches itself to the base, and so that's what we're looking at. Now, getting into the notes, this first one's kind of silly. Terms. A term, which we already talked about, is just a mathematical thing. Most of the time, it's just a number or a letter, or maybe a term is a number and a letter. But the bottom line, it's one piece. So all of these, that's a term, that's a term, that's a term, that's a term. It's just one piece at a time. Okay? Now, what we were working on in the warm-up, and what's important is the like terms. And so we need to match the same letters and the same, terrible handwriting, here we go, same exponents. Okay, that's what we're looking for. The first 3, you got examples that are perfect matches. Would you agree that 3x and 6x are the perfect same letter, same exponent? I think it's great. Remember, the numbers at the front don't have to match. The 3 and the 6, we don't really care, but x and x is perfect. Here we got 8y squared and negative 5y squared. Those look good. The 8 and the 5, particularly a negative 5, don't really matter, but the y squareds are matches. And over here, we've got b power 4 and b power 4. Those are perfect matches. The 11, we don't really care about that. Now on this next line, it's up to us to decide, are these matches? So the first one, 8a and negative 9a, you think that's a match? I would agree. I think that's a match. Looks pretty good. What about the middle one, 5x and 2x squared? No, not looking good. What's the difference between the two? The squared, right? And we talked about how these exponents, the little 2, we call squared. Cool. The squared is the problem there. It's not a match. What about this last one? A squared b cubed and 7a squared b cubed. It's a whole lot of stuff going on, but is it exact matches? Do they have an a? Yes. Is the a squared? Yes. Do they have a b? Yes. Is it a b cubed? Yes. And so there's a little bit, first of all, it is a match, but there's also a nice little sneak peek that if we have a exponent 3, it's called cubed, right? It's like a square, which is 2D, and when we bump up to 3D, we call it cubed, like a cube, right? So it kind of makes a little bit of sense. It's not totally random. Okay, we feel pretty good about like terms, hopefully, right? Especially in class, we did a whole warm-up about it. And so now we get to the real deal, okay? This is algebra, and our goal is to take a whole bunch of stuff and try to combine it together. But you have to be careful, because not everything is allowed to combine together. We got 4 things here. Term, 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 term. Are all 4 of these terms perfect matches? No. So we are not going to be able to take all 4 of these and smash them together and make one thing. That's not how it works, because they're not like terms. So let's start by playing matchy match and matching up some of our terms. Okay? I'm going to start with the 8, and I'm going to circle the 8. What is it that is a match with the 8? Negative 4. And I really like that you said negative 4, because I want to make sure to circle the negative. I kind of already warned you guys before, but these negative signs are the difference of a whole letter grade. Like, if you really feel like you understand this enough to get a C, and you miss every negative sign, you're going to get a D. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. So take these negatives seriously. If you got a highlighter, you can highlight them. These two things are matches. That looks good. Let's just figure out the rest of our matches. What about this plus 6x? Does it have any matches? Of course, right? A plus 3x. It's definitely not rocket science. So I got different colors for mine. Would you agree that the 8 and the -4 are matches and that the 6x and the 3x are matches? Great. Now what's another step going on here is that we're going to have to actually combine them. We're going to have to actually take the 8 and the -4 and mash them together and get what number results when you do 8 minus 4. Now, sometimes it's easy. Some of us in our head, we can do 8 minus 4. Some of us, still have summer brain, and I still have summer brain. And so we can use desmos. So I have desmos over here to help us out. Here's the trick to desmos, because a lot of students come back from summer and they got some bad desmos strategies. We're going to use our numbers to type them in here, and we're going to type in exactly what it says on the paper, no extra signs, okay? I'm telling you, a lot of kids end up here and they end up with something like plus 8 plus -4 plus minus. And I'm like, guys, where did all these extra signs come from? You only want to type exactly what it says on the paper. So the first number, 8, 8. Nothing extra. The second number, -4. So what do we type? -4. That's it. We don't need any extra pluses. We don't need any extra minuses. That's it. And Desmos tells you 8 minus 4 is 4. I'm sure in Algebra 1, a lot of us can do 8 minus 4 equals 4. So we did it. We combined our like terms. Congratulations. Your very first time in class this year, we combined like terms. So proud of you guys. Woohoo! Now, we're going to combine these like terms. We've got 6x's and 3x's. And how are we going to combine those together? We're just going to add them up. Desmos is a great way to do it. Now, let's be a little careful. I lied to you guys a little bit because I said type it in exactly how it looks. If I type plus 6x plus 3x, I'm not getting the answer. And in fact, I'm getting this whole weird line over here. So I'm not really getting what I want at all. What did I type in too much? Exactly. So you don't need the x's, because the x's, Desmos is going to think you're trying to graph it. So I'm going to get rid of those x's, and it's going to give me a 9. Now, the plus in front, we don't need it, but we can have it there if we want. Okay? If it's in the question, you can type it in Desmos, just nothing extra. Don't be putting your own little spin on it. So I typed it in, 6 plus 3, Desmos said 9. Now, we're almost done with our first question, but it looks like the answer is 49. We need two extra things here to make sure that we have a nice, neat answer.
X and then a plus.
We are going to need an x, and where's the x going to go?
Behind the 9.
Nice job, behind the 9, because we had 6 x's and 3 x's, which made 9 x's. Nice job. And now you are also correct. We're going to need to put in a plus. Not on Desmos, but on a paper. Okay? Whenever you have terms, you have to space the terms apart if they're not like terms and they've been combined. So because these are not like terms, we got to separate them. And the way that we separate them is a plus. Okay? If there's a minus in there already, that's good enough. If there's a plus in there already, that's good enough. But you got to make sure that you have your spaces spaced out. Sometimes students turn in their first assignment. Okay? This is an example. And their answer looks like this. And I don't know if this is supposed to be 63x, 5x squared. You just need to have a little bit of spaces in here. Just boop. Now all of our terms are nice and spread out, and we're good to go. Okay, at this point, I feel like we're ready to speed the pace up a little bit. We've been going real slow today. You know, it's early in the year. Let's pick it up a little bit. Do we feel okay about number 1? Does your paper kind of look like my paper?
You want to write that example?
No, I'm not too worried about that. All right, here we go. Let's get to number 2. The first term is negative 4x. I'm going to make sure that I focus on my negatives. I see that I have a bunch of negatives for this question. Do we have any matches with negative 4x? Nice job. Negative 6x. These are going to need to be combined. That's the only matches that we have for the x terms. We also have plus 3y. And does that have any matches? Of course, it matches up with our negative 5y. Nice job. We're going to need to combine these terms, you know, 2 separate sets. Let's start with what I have in the red. Let's start with our x's. Negative 4x, negative 6x. I'm going to type it in. Negative 4x, negative 6x, but no x's. So I'm going to go back. Just the negative 4, negative 6. Desmos says negative 10. Is everybody cool with where that negative 10 came from? We're all good? What letter goes on that? An X. Sweet. And now let's look at what I have in the green. Let's look at the y's. We've got plus 3y minus 5y. Let's use Desmos. Type it in with no letters. Plus 3 minus 5. Nothing extra, nothing fancy. We get negative 2. Negative 2. What letter goes on that? A y. Now looking at the 2 terms that we have here, are they spread out already, or do we need to add something in the middle? They're already looking good, right? We have a minus. They're already split. We do not need to put a plus. And if we put a plus in there, we're going the wrong direction. We're making it more complicated. So no plus needed for number 2. Are we feeling okay about number 2? Was I going too fast, or we doing well? All right, maybe I'm going too slow still. Let's check out number 3. Number 3, we have these floating letters, or actually numbers. These floating numbers, what do we call these things? Exponents. What's the 3? What's the fancy word for that? And this 2? All right, we're rock stars. We got cubes and squares, and these are all exponents. Let's combine our like terms. Let's check out this negative 3x cubed. Any matches? Does it match up with this 2x squared? No, it does not, because they're not exactly the same letter and exactly the same exponent. Does this have any matches at all? No. So what do we do with it? Do we forget about it and delete it, or do we bring it down? Of course, I already drew the arrow for you. We're bringing it down. Make sure you don't mess up this part, right? This should be the easiest part. We get a free point here. Bring it down, write it the same. Don't leave anybody behind. Let's move next to our plus 2x squared. Do we have any matches? We got our minus 5x squared. These are looking good. We're going to combine these together. We're going to use Desmos, and we're not going to write any of the letter stuff. We're just going to use our coefficients, plus 2 and minus 5. And Desmos says negative 3. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to write negative 3. What variable goes on that negative 3? An x. Is there an exponent on that x? A 2, which makes it an x squared. I think that looks pretty good. And the last term that we have here, I got to go all the way to my blue now. Negative 5x. Does it have any matches? Do we forget about it? You got to bring it down, right? Minus 5x. All right, looking at our final answer here. All 3 of these should be separate, different terms, and they should not combine together. These are all different stuff, right? I got my cubes, my squares, and my plain old x's. So they're all different. Do I need to put a plus to keep these apart?
No.
I think they're looking pretty good. I think the answer looks great. We're moving on. I'm going to give you guys a second to work on question number 4. This is going to be a little bit of a you try question. I'm going to give you guys, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half. And I want to see if you guys can handle it. If you have an answer, you can raise your hand. If you got stuck, you can raise your hand. I'm also going to come around and check around and make sure that we got stuff written on our notes here. You know, I really would be bummed out if we were blank already on the first day of notes. So check it out. If you got an answer, raise your hand. I'll help you out. Nice job. Nice job. You got it? Yarman? We're going to try number 4 on our own. You want to try it out? I want to make sure you know what you're doing. I know you may be a little bored because it's a little too easy, but stay with me. Nice job, nice job, nice job, nice job. Yeah, I like that. Use desmos when you need it. Nice job. Nice. I like the color coordinating we got going on. He's already got all the answers. Looking good. So with these. So for these, we're not doing any multiplying today. It's all just that. It's okay. It's just 5 minus 3. Make sure you don't forget about that minus 3. Nice job. Perfect. Love that. Need a little spacer in there. You did a great job. You doing this one? 2. 6 minus 2. Okay, I think we got it. So these questions should just have like line layers, right? So here, triple here, triple here. So we got boom, and then another layer. That W there. Give me 1 second.
Morning, Officer Smith. This is Mr. Jones. I
Good morning.
apologize for just a few quick announcements. One for students. Remember, we're serving breakfast only up at the kiosk by the bus ramp door. Please get your breakfast before you go to class. Don't go to class and then return for breakfast. Get your breakfast and then go to class. Cell phones remind you that they're off and away the entire day. So you can say they were off and away the entire day, off and away the entire day. In fact, they should be so away, I shouldn't even see you with a cell phone. I shouldn't even know you have a cell phone. So I should never see those things. To quote my good friend Santa Claus, who was up North Pole, I know when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Remember, no cell phones, anytime, any place, anywhere. All right, you might take up a new hobby today, which is actually talking to people instead of texting them. So you can probably meet a new friend today, talk to them face to face. It's a good habit to do. It's a proven method of communication. It's been used for thousands of years. I encourage you to try it. So remember, off and away the entire day. That includes school lunch, cafeteria, hallway, anytime. Remember, I should never see a cell phone. I shouldn't even know you have one. Thank you.
All right, nice job. Saw lots and lots and lots of good answers. Sorry for the interruption. It's just how it goes this first week of school. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this first term, which is an x term. I'm spotting that this minus 3x is also an x term. I'm going to make sure that my negative is being super important to me. It's not 5 plus 3 that makes 8. It should be 5 minus 3, which makes 2. And I'm going to need an x on that 2. The next thing I'm going to look at is just this plain old 6, just a boring number 6 and a boring negative 2. I guess it's not all that boring because it does have a negative. And what's 6 minus 2? 4. Now, this 4 does not need an x. However, this is not looking good enough yet. What am I missing from this answer? I need that little plus in there to space out my terms. It's really like they don't mix, right? The terms, they're not really friendly. They don't want to hang out together. So the x terms come over here and the no x's come over here, and they need some room to breathe. So we split them up. Are we feeling okay with number 4? I was impressed. I was pleased with you guys. Nice job. Let's check out number 5. Let's go a little bit quickly here. We got y's. I'm seeing for number 5, scary, scary, scary. We got 4 negatives, and I want to make extra sure I don't forget those. Negative 2y, negative 4y. Those are my matches. I'm going to use desmos, especially with negatives. Negative 2, don't type the y. Negative 4, don't type the y. And I got negative 6. Negative 6, that needs a y. And then I'm going to work with my negative 5 and negative 7. Again, use desmos, especially with the negatives. Just there's no reason to get it wrong. It would be silly. Negative 5, negative 7. Just type it in exactly how it looks. You don't need any extra signs. Desmos says negative 12, so I'm just going to put negative 12. Do we need a plus to keep these apart? No. The general rule of thumb is you only get one symbol in between the terms. We already got a minus, so we don't need a plus. That would give us two symbols. That would be a problem. I went really fast through number 5. Do we feel okay with number 5? Doing all right? Any questions? Good? Perfect. Let's finish off. Let's do number 6. We got 10 and plus 3. Those are going to be matches. And honestly, 10 plus 3, I know we can do that in our head. But look, Desmos is so free. 10 plus 3 is 13. Might as well. Looks good. I see my A terms are coming up next. Negative. Don't forget the negative. Anybody do that one on their computer already? What do you get?
14. Wait. Yeah, 4.
Just a 4. Probably just saw our plus sign and got a little confused there. No big deal. 4, which needs an A. And once we get this 4A, we need a spacer in here to keep our terms separate. How are we feeling with combining like terms? Part of it is you got to identify the matches. But as far as just adding them up using Desmos, we feeling okay? All right, that is notes from the first real work day of algebra, and it's really not too bad.